I guess. So everybody knows by now about how Trump attacks Kamala Harris and he disrespects her and makes fun. Um, it just hit me for some reason that it doesn't speak to like this like, oh, like Kamala Harris is using her like Indian, her biracial stuff as a way to like get votes from different minority groups. It doesn't speak to that. Maybe that's what she's doing. That could be the case. Um, Trump constantly talking about Kamala Harris and back in, I think it was 2016, talking about Elizabeth Warren. She said she was an Indian too. And Nikki Haley saying she's a Indian or a Sikh or whatever. It doesn't say to me that those are like manipulations. It says to me that Trump is a man of his time and that he doesn't have to acknowledge your heritage. And that as a white man, as a rich white man, it's my right to just ignore progression. Because as a black man, this is any black man that wants to make it and actually do something in this world. We're always aware of change. The world is constantly changing, good changes and bad changes. But the world is constantly changing. And if you're black, you're trying to get ahead of those changes. You're trying to put yourself in a place where you can benefit from those changes and where you can, you can make it can be an advantage and not a detriment. But I see that Trump stuff as really more of just ignorance and taking pride in being ignorant because he's never been forced to acknowledge like, oh, I gotta respect you, but the mispronouncing her name, Kamala, mispronouncing Kaepernick's name back, when he was kneeling on the field. Every time Obama's out here talking about Barack Hussein, it speaks to me a certain kind of a childishness. And I don't know if that's dementia, whatever these guys talk about. I don't know if that's dementia, if that's just a rich white man who's never had to kneel down or bow down before other people that are in society or in the workplace who are not white and who are diverse, have different opinions. It just comes to me as how petty Trump is. They talk about the culture war, and as I've gotten older, I've learned it's political correct. It's just treating people decently. I remember I used to work out with a Russian man. He said I was the first person that he met in North Carolina to pronounce his name properly. I think he lived there a couple of years. For me, it was just sound his name out. That's how I was raised. You look a man in the eye, you should give him a firm handshake. That's what you do. But for Republicans, that's too much. Because Trump has never had to respect anybody. He does, he's never had to. When you work a job, you have laws and policies and all that procedures. And if you don't respect people, you can lose your job. Trump has never had to face that. So he's for white people free. And it just gives me that like they celebrate that. An old white man that from the 80s, from the 70s, who has been around crooks from day one. His lawyer he had died of AIDS. Same thing, pushing the gay stuff and homophobia, and he died of AIDS. Trump goes 10 minutes to the funeral. It just hits me that how petty Trump is. Not that he's bad or crazy, he's just petty. And how as a black man, it isn't about not liking him. I don't understand that way of thinking of I'm just going to disrespect people's names and make fun of their names and like go after their kids. And it's a level of childishness and a level of immaturity that I don't quite understand sometimes. And I know I don't do it justice. Thanks for listening.